I was younger, I was one of those weird, dramatic kids who would bawl my eyes out when my dad told me to ring the Chinese because I was so nervous. I couldn't ring my granddad to say happy birthday. I just couldn't do anything like that. I was such a nervous kid, but I was dramatic, and that was fine. You're a dramatic kid, Abigail? Okay, it's fine. We'll deal with it. We'll accept it. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with severe anxiety and depression, and looking back on that kid, I feel that we're related somehow, but we just accepted it because that was just who I am. It was fine. And when I was diagnosed, I only told my immediate friends and family just out of shame and feeling scared. I didn't even know how to explain it to them. I didn't even know how to explain it to myself because I had a great life. I had great relationships, great family, great friends. I was doing well in school. I was going out all the time. And there was no reason for me to be sad. Oh, you're too young. What do you have to be worried about? Why are you sad? You've no reason. I found it hard to go into school. And every day without fail, my mom would drive me up to the school gates and I would burst into tears and have a panic attack. It could last over 2 hours, just crying. I'd feel drained and deflated, and because of that, I missed a lot of school. From about December of 5th year to May of 5th year, I missed about 60, 70 days, and I never did a full week in school. I just couldn't do it. So I didn't do my 5th year exams, I'd missed too much, I didn't really know what was going on. And when people asked me in school, why were you out last week? I'd say, oh, I had a stomach bug, or oh, I had a cold, Because no one was gonna laugh at me for having a cold or a stomach bug. They could laugh at me for saying, oh, I was crying all day yesterday. They could laugh at me for saying, oh, I was feeling depressed yesterday. In my opinion, saying that you have a physical illness is given more respect than saying you have a mental one. And I just felt it easier to do that. Every day I panicked that I would break down in class and have to run out the door in tears, floods of tears, crying and screaming and out of breath. And for me, it was just easier not to go into school because I was so nervous of what people would think. Because kids talk, and you guys know, school is hard. And there's always drama going on, there's gossip going on. I just didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't want to be that gossip. Oh God, did you see Abigail running out of class in tears? I just didn't want that. The stigma that I faced or predicted that I would face in school made me repress so many feelings. And I feel it made me worse because I was just so built up inside with all these emotions, and I had to put a brave face on every single day. Because my friends in school would say, oh, I'm funny, like I'm outgoing, I'm loud, I'm not an uncomfortable person, but I was just so worried all the time. When I was in secondary school, no one talked about mental health. I didn't know anyone who was suffering from the same thing I was. I just felt so alone. And when people did talk about mental health or mental illnesses, the words crazy, unhinged, nut job, psycho, all those words were used. And I didn't want to be one of those people who's saying, oh, she's a psycho, oh, she's a nut job, oh, she's so dramatic. Did you see her the other day in tears? I didn't want that stigma to come to me. I thought I was crazy. I thought I was unhinged because I didn't know anyone else going through the same thing. So you start to listen to the negative words and think, God, I don't know anyone else suffering from this. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe I am unhinged. When other people knew about my mental illness, I would get advice. Be positive, get out of bed, come on, go for a walk, do some exercise. And it made me feel so horrible because no one took my problem seriously. No one took my illness seriously, and that's what it is, it's an illness. You would never, ever say to a terminally ill person, oh, just get out of bed and be positive. Someone with a broken leg, oh, it's all in your head, don't worry, you'll be fine, come on, you're oversensitive, you're building it up. You would never, ever say that to someone. It just made me feel like my feelings were not valid, and it was just harder to recover. When I was in 6th year, I started to attend therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and this helped me so much. It added logic to my life again because I thought it was crazy. I really did. But CBT helped me learn different coping methods, and it gave me the logic behind my mental illness, which helped me cope with it in the end because I needed to know what was going on. And it turns out there's just a chemical imbalance in my brain that makes me feel like this. It's an illness. It's not a characteristic of me, or it's not a quirk or a trait. It's an illness, and it doesn't define me. So I was fine. I got through secondary school. I did the leaving cert, actually did okay, ended up in college. And when I was in 1st year of college, I discovered a group called Sea Change, which Jess is also involved in. And Sea Change is an organization that works to prevent stigma surrounding mental health illnesses. And they sent an email out to college, and I thought, okay, well, haven't heard anyone else talking about this before. Maybe I'll meet some people who have suffered or are suffering, or people like me. So I signed up, and I wrote my first article, which was called Stigmatized, the title of my speech today. And it was kind of like my coming out story with mental health, because no one knew what was happening to me. I was just that waster in school who missed so much, or I was lazy, or people didn't really know what was going on. Maybe there was trouble at home, whatever. But for me, it was my coming out story. Just being able to articulate all those feelings, all the crap that was happening to me was amazing. And the feedback I got was just unbelievable. People saying, look, I'm sorry, I wish I knew what was going on. I wish I knew what was happening. I could have helped, I could have talked. And it's like, it's fine, it's okay. So I've been making articles with Sea Change. I started, and I literally have not shut up about mental health since. Some people follow me on Instagram, that's literally all I talk about. I've got a podcast every week, which is up here. I just talk about it so much, because for me, I think the best way to break stigma is by talking. Just talking. And that is all I do to anyone who will listen. I just think telling my story to others, like written or spoken, is just a way to get that conversation going. And it doesn't have to be a serious conversation. You don't have to sit down and say, how are you feeling today? Tell me now. Are you feeling happy? Are you feeling sad? What's going on? You just have to say, how are you, and mean it. Really mean it. How are you? No, how are you really? It can be something as simple as that. And you don't have to be a great person for advice. You don't have to say, okay, I'm going to help you. That's not your job. You just have to listen. And if you can listen to someone who is suffering, it's going to help them so much. I think starting a conversation with friends and family can be a stepping stone to encouraging so many other people, as well as yourself, getting help. Because your feelings are valid. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Your feelings are valid, and there are people waiting to listen. Shame and stigma are two dangerous things associated with mental health, and I want to get rid of that negativity, because it can affect so many people. The years I had to go through school nervous of people laughing at me crying, or afraid to tell my employer that I'm anxious or I'm nervous in case they fire me, they think I'm unstable. It's too much, and we have to break that stigma, and that's me and Jess are trying to do in Sea Change, is breaking that stigma by talking, telling our stories to whoever will listen. I've been living with a mental illness for most of my life. And I probably will be living with a mental illness for a lot of my life. It's just the way I am. It's an illness I have to live with. Like my mom is living with fibromyalgia. No different than I'm living with anxiety and depression. And I've got really good days, I have really bad days. I've achieved so much. I didn't think I would get it to the age of 18. I really didn't. And I'm here standing on stage to you guys who are the same age, which is unbelievable, just being able to tell my story, how I recovered, or in recovery, and still going. But if I had faced a huge amount of stigma, which we see all the time, especially for guys out there, sometimes it's worse for guys. Man up. Boys don't cry. Boys don't have feelings. Oh, go and play some rugby. I don't know. Like, boys aren't allowed to cry, and it's a huge stigma surrounding it. We need to break so many different types of it. I still have really bad days. I do. I have really bad days. But I take every day minute by minute, literally minute by minute. And I know that tomorrow is a new day and there is hope out there. So today I urge you to start a conversation. Like I said, it doesn't have to be serious. You can even bring me into it. See that weird woman up on stage talking about mental health? What did you think of her? I don't mind. You can use me. It's fine. Just try and start it. And if you hear someone telling someone to man up or be positive or she's crazy, she's a nut job, just say, look, you don't know what that person is going through, okay? We shouldn't be using this language in our society. It's dangerous, it doesn't help, and it stops people from speaking out. So I urge you to start a conversation today. Thank you so much for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day, guys.